Welcome to the MontCAS Test Security and Data Integrity video series. The purpose of this video is to provide the viewer with a broad overview of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual and to set the stage with defining some commonly used terms in test security and data integrity. This video will explore this objective so the viewer can complete this training with the following understandings. Knowing what the MontCAS Test Security 5 W's are. As we discussed in Part 1, Video 3, many stakeholders rely on valid, reliable assessment data to inform programs and funding at various levels in the educational system. The OPI uses the statewide assessments as tools to measure the true attainment of one's educational knowledge, skills, and abilities. The OPI, school districts, teachers, parents, and students rely on these assessments. The assessments must have integrity, so users have confidence in the data. Without trust in the data, it cannot be used for how it was intended, which is to fairly evaluate the educational equalities within and across schools. This means that every stakeholder in assessment has a role in ensuring test security and data integrity. Of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual, here is the who. Test security and data integrity apply to various educational stakeholders, such as the OPI, school districts, teachers, test coordinators, parents, and students, as everyone has a role in safeguarding the information, but also in ensuring the quality of the interpretations that can be made from the assessment outcomes. For these reasons, school districts, school staff, and students are critical partners in ensuring test security policies and procedures are followed. Test security must be maintained to give an equal opportunity for all students to demonstrate what they have learned and to ensure that their test scores are valid. Proper test administration will lead to student results that accurately reflect a valid and reliable measure of what each student knows and is able to do compared to Montana's content standards. The purpose of test security and data integrity is to preserve the reliability, validity, and the integrity of the assessment for Montana. Of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual, here is the what. What is test security? Test security involves the actions you take to ensure that the test content and student results are protected so that the test scores are valid. When we talk about valid test scores or maintaining the integrity of test results, this means that the results are accurate and meaningful. Why is test security important? Test security must be maintained to give an equal opportunity for all students to demonstrate what they have learned and to ensure that their test scores are valid. Students, families, and educators rely on valid test scores to help make decisions about whether or not students are on track for academic success. For example, if students achieve a score that indicates they meet the standards, it is reasonable to conclude that students have mastered sufficient grade level content and skills without any unfair advantages. Also, it takes a lot of work by a lot of people over a long period of time, up to 3 years, to develop a standardized test. Education professionals, including many teachers, work together to develop test questions. If there is a security breach where test content is exposed, that test content may no longer be used on any test, and in some cases may affect whether test scores are valid. Of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual, here is the when. One thing in understanding test security and data integrity is knowing when it happens. Here is the 2019-2020 test window as an example of when state assessments take place. But test security happens before, during, and after testing as well. It is a year-long, systematic, and dynamic process. Data quality and integrity for statewide assessments are based on the ability for stakeholders to adhere to the state-defined standardized policies and procedures for test administration of Montana's comprehensive assessment system. For the OPI to meet the ESSA requirement of reporting results for students, schools, and districts, we must take steps to ensure the security and confidentiality of the state test materials and provide appropriate training for personnel involved in testing pursuant with the OPI's test security policies and procedures. We are all critical partners in ensuring these policies and expectations are met. Of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual, here is the where. Where does test security and data integrity happen? It happens everywhere test materials are handled and or available, and anywhere data or results are handled and or available. This graphic shows the state, school districts, school personnel, and students are critical partners in ensuring test security, but also in having access to and using these important data. Anywhere test security and data integrity happen, we should all take precautionary steps to understand what is expected and how to address any concerns or unplanned situations. If you observe or become aware of student or staff actions that violate test security, it is your responsibility to talk with your system test coordinator. Even if a security breach seems unintentional, it is important that the situation is reported so that procedures and policies can be clarified and updated so that everyone understands how to maintain test security. While we recommend you work with your school district to report any possible issues, there may be circumstances where you need to report something directly to OPI. The OPI website has a tip line where test security concerns can be reported anonymously using the Confidential Test Incident Report. The OPI has the responsibility to oversee all statewide testing. As part of your role in testing, you may be part of a site monitoring visit, audit, or be asked to provide information related to a testing incident. Of the 5 W's of the MontCAS Test Security Manual, here is the why. We discussed this in Part 1, Video 3. Any stakeholders need high-quality data to inform programs and funding. For these various purposes and reasons, SCAs must maintain confidence in the data and protect its integrity for these intended purposes. Assurance the assessment really does measure what it is supposed to measure. Statewide assessments provide a single summative score that provides valid, reliable, and transparent information on student achievement or growth. Whether intentional or unintentional in nature, any behavior that threatens the validity of the test score is considered as test fraud. Test fraud is a set of activities that are illegal, inappropriate, or against the rules or standards. Now please take a moment to complete these H5P questions before we move on to the next concepts.